spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
Sometimes your body not feel so fine, head hanging low most of the time. Got that meat sack not doing good, head hanging low, don't feel like you should. I talk to the Carolyn. What? Talk to the Carolyn. Talk to the Carolyn. What? Talk to the Carolyn.
Welcome, welcome, everybody. We're live on achieveradio.com, and this is Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, or as I like to say, Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. And either way, it's a very good deal. We're happy you're here with us this evening, those who are in the United States as well as those who are around the world, joining us to really talk to Dr. Carolyn Dean. And everybody should probably pretty much want to talk to her as far as I'm concerned, because she's got powerful solutions for health, vitality, and well-being that are either ignored by allopathic medicine, as we like to call it, and or maybe completely misunderstood, even by those in the natural medicine community. I was just talking to a chiropractor today, and he said, well, somebody told me I might need magnesium, but I took 3 magnesium glycinate pills, and I got diarrhea, so I knew I had enough in my body, and I didn't worry about taking it anymore. I'm like, oh, dear. But I get ahead of myself. Anyway, we're so glad Dr. Dean has straightened this out for everybody, and that's what we're here to do tonight, is not only talk about what she has straightened out, make you aware of it, how you can incorporate it in your life, and then ask you to share it with other people, because it just, everybody should know how simple it is to really be healthy using a handful of very basic nutrients, vital nutrients that are available here in the earth as God intended, just laying around on the floor, that we can pick up and put in a picometer form and stick in our bodies and enjoy some wonderful, wonderful health, and also some of the other formulas that Dr. Dean has created. Before I bring her on, I just want to remind everybody, not only has she been in the forefront of health issues for almost 40 years, and she is a medical doctor, but she's also a naturopath, and her one mission, the main mission, is to do no harm and to be a doctor as a teacher. So we have kind of a teaching format here this evening. Dr. Dean's going to spend the first part of the show reviewing her blogs and some of her lectures, some of her thoughts and what's important to her this week. And then we'll go to that doctor as teacher and allow you to talk directly with her. She can share with you the wisdom that she's garnered over these years. She's also an herbalist, an acupuncturist, a nutritionist, an intuitive, a lecturer, consultant, and author. She's done so many things. She's got lots of tools in her tool belt. But her primary go-to is natural medicine, natural food, and the way you can take care and nourish yourself. Before I bring her on, I also want to remind you that not going to give her medical advice. We don't do that. But what she will do is she will tell you what she would do if she were you. And she will absolutely, in fact, do that. I've seen her do it many times myself. She is true to her word. She's consistent. She's straightforward, she's upright, she's faithful, and she's true to the things that she recommends, because she does them for herself. And she doesn't waver. She doesn't have any, confusion in her. She's clear about what she wants to offer you, and she's going to insist that you accept it and at least give it a fair shot. So we're so happy to have her with this evening. Welcome again. Very happy to have you here, Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Thank you, Ginny. Thank you very much. I'm a little subdued today. Little subdued.
You are.
Yeah, I don't know if I should share this, but maybe I'll get it off my chest by sharing it. I had a discussion with my book, Magnesium Miracle book representative at the publishing company, and lo and behold, I find out that the massive index for my 600-page book is something that I'm supposed to pay for. I'm supposed to pay for the person spending 33 hours working on my book to create the index for my book. Does that sound reasonable to you, that I have to not only write the book and create the references and do a gazillion other things, but I also have to pay for the indexing of my book? Does that make sense? Does that make people realize why the publishing industry is falling apart and everybody is self-publishing now because, you can't sustain yourself on a 4 or 5% royalty from publishing companies? So anyway, that's off my chest, and now I'll be a happy person again.
Aw, that's not very fair, I would say, especially since I know how long you've worked on the book and how much time and energy you've put into it, and I know you've done your own editing, and that's absolutely absurd. And I know that they're going to run off, to the bank with all the loot. And, seems kind of crazy. I mean, I really, but the good thing is, being the person of integrity that you are, you will do it to make sure that it's done well, which I guess is its own consolation, right? So, but yeah, that's really unfortunate, Carolyn. I'm sorry to hear that. It's not as glamorous as everybody thinks when you have a best-selling book on Amazon, is it?
No, it's not. But we are getting pretty excited about it finally coming out in August. They bumped me a few times, and I know people are kind of holding back and not buying the current book, which the publishers don't like that either, but it's their fault. So we're getting ready to make a big splash with the book coming out in August. And what we've been doing and will continue to do in the radio shows, and I in my blogs as well, is excerpt sections from the new book, so you keep getting newer information about magnesium and about what we're doing, and about all the completement formulas, actually, because they all work synergistically. And we'll get to Ginny's blog in a minute because it's a pretty powerful one: diabetes, kidney disease, and magnesium. I'll just quickly go through my two blogs of this past week. One was about a summit that I'm going to be on, and the summits, I think, are very important. It introduces my topics and me to the audiences of all the other speakers. We all kind of blog out to our lists about the summits that we're on, and people get back to me, and they get a fair amount out of the summits, and they like it seems that they like hearing me saying the same thing over and over. But each host brings out something new. This latest summit, Your Best Self Now, it turns out Alana, the health coach who invited me to her summit, she works with people with eating disorders, and I don't know how much we talked about even eating disorders. She was just so blown away by magnesium. But what I know about eating disorders is that people who don't feel they're getting enough nutrients in their diet keep eating in an effort to try to get those nutrients. And that behavior can appear like binge eating. And the purging part of eating disorders is an effort to stop calories from being absorbed. And, people definitely have emotional reasons why they're eating this way or why they have these behavior patterns. But what we do know is when people start getting the right nutrients from the Total Body Reset formulas, they experience a shift in their cravings and addictions. And they'll tell us that they no longer desire sugar or alcohol or cigarettes or coffee. And as with most chronic health problems, taking the Total Body Reset formula sets a stage for balanced healing. That's what I say in the blog. And I do put down the total biology conflicts related to eating disorders, the abandonment, a person regarding their own figure, their own body shape, something called indigestible lack, My identity is the next one. My identity is I don't have the right to exist, to express myself, to express my opinion, to have a territory. So they try to make themselves tiny and disappear. Or even if they are thin, they see themselves as being too fat. And to undo that fat image of themselves, they keep on either fasting or binging and purging. So it's there's a lot that total biology can offer people who kind of display their emotions in their eating patterns. But again, we really find people can ask us any question about any condition, and we will say, well, just start with the complete meal formulas, see what shakes out, see what's left over at the end of 6-9 months, and at that point look into that's when you do your tens of thousands of dollars of testing, not at the outset, because when you start testing before you even change your diet or get your basic building material nutrients, then anything could come up in the testing. The second blog of last week was something that I read on Medscape. I get a lot of good fodder from Medscape, and it was an article about the Hippocratic Oath promoting burnout. So I say, in a bizarre attempt to explain why 33 to 50% of practicing doctors and 50% of medical students suffer symptoms of burnout, experts are blaming the Hippocratic Oath, which they say tells doctors to put their patients first. Of course, I say, excuse me, but I really don't think that's the case. After all, when's the last time a doctor spent a half hour with you, listened to you closely, examined you thoroughly, and took time to reassure you about your symptoms? That's what putting patients first really means. I say I'd rather doctors follow the part of the Hippocratic Oath that says first do no harm. And if they did that, their job satisfaction would go way up. I think the major reason why doctors are suffering burnout is because they aren't really helping their patients. And why is that? It's because they only are given 7 minutes per patient visit by their HMOs, and there's nothing they can do to change that. It's because the medications they prescribe are not helping their patients, who complain that they're getting worse, not better. And it's because they went to medical school to learn how to help people, and that's just not happening. Or because they wanted to become a doctor for the prestige and to make a lot of money, and that's not happening either. And I comment just briefly, I say I have no idea what the new health care plan will offer, but unless it gives people access to alternatives, we will be stuck in the same assembly line practice of drugs and surgery. Medicine has become so mechanized in the current system, you can go from having a physical complaint to major surgery with no one but the surgeon in the operating room touching your body. And the solutions in alternative medicine, Ginny already brought that up. I say, unfortunately, most alternative medicine practitioners have unwittingly adopted the medical model. Instead of treating the whole body, they too have become specialists. So you have nobody who looks at the whole picture of your total body meltdown. Practitioners perform copious, expensive tests for which they take a large fee, and they match test results and symptoms to supplements, prescribing them instead of drugs. And I talk about my focus is yeast overgrowth and magnesium and mineral deficiencies. I think that's the basis of most illness. That's the basis of what we talk about here every week. I also add the total body, the total biology dialogue to the picture I create with people, where if you're in conflict, then the body is creating, trying to create a solution to the conflict that you've developed. And the solution is often diagnosed by allopathic medicine as being a disease. Anything that's not the norm is a disease according to allopathic medicine. And I end up talking about my commitment to research the underlying causes of illness and provide common sense, practical, efficient, affordable ways of staying well, making these tools available so you can take charge of your own body and your own health. I encourage people to avoid the complexity that some practitioners introduce into your health picture with genetic testing, hormone testing, hair analysis, and electrodiagnostic testing. As I said, maybe down the road, if symptoms are still evident after you do the total body reset, if you're 90% better and you want to get rid of that other 10%, then you can do testing. And I'm not forcing people to follow this. People are going to go off and do whatever they do, but this is just my philosophy, because what we find is most people who are in the midst of a total body meltdown, and we put them on a protocol that I've been working on, you can say for 50 years, I've been reading and studying alternative medicine. And what we find is until you saturate your body with REMAG and you've activated your 700, 800 enzyme processes in the body, then I don't think the body can really cope with onslaught of either drugs or supplements if all these systems aren't turned on. REMAG turns on all those switches, 700, 800 enzyme processes. So the protocol we're talking about replenishes your body with these well-absorbed nutrients in REMAG, REMITE, and Recalcia, gently detoxes you and gives you methylated Bs with the Realign, starts making perfect cells with RNA drops and Restructure, and often most, if not all, your symptoms will clear up and you won't have wasted your time and money on expensive testing and doctor's visits. So that's basically our MO, our modus operandi, and that's why we are not burnt out. Ginny and I are not burnt out. Right, Ginny?
That's right. And I just want to take this moment to insert that neither is our warehouse team, who's packing their little boxy fingers to the bones, and our customer service team, who's full of vim and vigor and great energy, and Doug and Melody Rose and Allie, and everybody's just doing so much and working and just loving what they're doing, and they're not burnt out either. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, we're just very happy to be doing what we're doing, and the serious part of the program now is this business about diabetes, kidney disease, and magnesium. Ginny put them together because these conditions they're intertwined, and because doctors don't know about treating diabetes or kidney disease with magnesium, then if you begin to have signs of kidney disease, your doctor may try to put you on drugs for diabetes and drugs for blood pressure and drugs for cholesterol, even though you may be normal in those areas, because they say these are the complications of kidney disease. And what they don't know is by putting you on these drugs, they create these complications. So it's a terrible vicious cycle that people get pulled into. And I'm going to mention the Great Cholesterol Con book. I blogged about it, I think it was a week and a half ago, talked about it last week. You really have to read this book. I mean, the guy is funny. He's Scottish. He just, cracks me up, again, with this serious topic, and just debunks cholesterol as being the cause of heart disease, right, left, and center. And you have to know this because most people are going to be faced with a doctor who says, well, your cholesterol is elevated, you should go on a statin drug. And even though intuitively you may say, no, I don't want that statin drug, they have placed a virus in your brain that you have a problem and that you have a cholesterol problem and that you are going to have heart disease because you're not taking care of it. So I want you to get this book, The Great Cholesterol Con, and really get your intellectual side all, geared up, fired up, and understand what's going on with cholesterol so that you can just say, oh, poof, geez, that's so ridiculous what they're doing. And yes, I will continue to take magnesium and the complement formulas and keep my cholesterol happy. Now, Buddy, who writes the book, doesn't talk about magnesium or any of the treatments for cholesterol. He's pretty much a drug-based doctor, but he certainly does not believe in statin drugs. So if you go on statin drugs or blood pressure drugs or diabetes drugs, you can develop kidney disease. And what Ginny says in her blog gives the stats. At this point, worldwide, 415 million adults living with diabetes. By 2030, this number could double. And the complications can be present even though you don't have any signs or symptoms. Oh, the signs, though, one of the signs is low magnesium. It's all in the medical texts. And if doctors learned about and were able to do ionized magnesium testing and had magnesium on the electrolyte panel, they'd be treating diabetes with magnesium. But because we never learned about the importance of magnesium or any minerals in medical school, doctors do not routinely test for magnesium. And if they do, they use the wrong test. The serum magnesium test is highly inaccurate. But you can order your own Magnesium RBC test, which is a little better than the serum magnesium, gives you an idea of your levels. And you can use requestatest.com. Just pay a fee of $49, which is less than most copays, and order your own test. But you want to try to gain an optimum magnesium level of 6.0 to 6.5 and not put up with the average level that they say is normal, but it's not, because the range of values in their testing are on a very sick, very magnesium deficient population, where 80% of the population is deficient in magnesium. So diabetes damages the kidneys. It's a leading cause of kidney disease. But when the kidneys are impaired, doctors tell their patients not to take magnesium, which is actually one of the minerals they need to heal their kidneys. Now, why this is when in a hospital setting, when people with kidney disease are given high amounts of magnesium or intravenous magnesium, it turns out that the kidneys can't filter out the magnesium fast enough, and they can build up to high levels in the blood. And a high level of magnesium can irritate the heart. And what prevents people who take oral magnesium from having high levels is they just get the laxative effect. Even with Remag, if you take too much Remag, you will get the laxative effect at a certain point. So from these very rare cases of intravenous magnesium overload in people with kidney failure, they decided nobody with any level of kidney disease should have magnesium. And what's happened because of that is people are suffering. I have a case history, and soon I'll try to go into some of the I'm doing Ginny's blog right now, but I'll go into some of what I've written in the next edition of Magnesium Miracle about the magnesium and kidney disease. But Ginny has a case of a customer, a young kidney patient told customer service, what did she say? Before I found you in Remag, I was spilling 2,500, I think it's milligrams of protein in my urine. 6 months ago, I was down to 495. I got my results in the mail today, and it was 100. Yay. And I think what she's talking about, a urine albumin protein to creatinine ratio, which is the normal is, or the the amount you don't want to go above is 30 milligrams per gram. So she's gotten down from 2,500 milligrams to 495 and now down to 100. So she's very happy about that, just taking her Remag. And I also recommend Remite, the multiple mineral, which can help heal the tissue damage created by diabetes, and also, of course, Reline, Restructure, and RNA drops. So the excerpts from the book, I didn't talk that much about kidney disease in the original edition. And what happened in this edition is I did, really pushed further and found a lot of evidence of an epidemic of kidney disease and kidney failure. And I also started to find research articles showing that the need for magnesium in kidney disease. But what's causing the kidney disease? It's calcification of the kidney arteries, and we know that's happening in the heart arteries called the coronary arteries, or in the carotid arteries in the neck. It's also the drugs that people are taking that can cause kidney damage, antibiotics, including Cipro, methicillin, vancomycin, and the sulfonamides, the analgesics, the COX-2 inhibitors, that's the pain drugs, heartburn drugs, antiviral drugs, high blood pressure drugs, rheumatoid arthritis drugs, lithium, anticonvulsants, chemotherapy drugs. They can all cause kidney damage. And the proton pump inhibitors deplete magnesium. Those are the drugs for heartburn or acid reflux. And just more statistics on end-stage renal disease. This was pretty shocking. The Medicare-funded program has increased from 10,000 patients in 1973 to a frightening 615,899 patients as of 2012. And medicine says they're at a loss to explain why so many people are affected. And they just keep on telling people to take these preventive drugs and put them on dialysis or do kidney transplants. A lot of repetition here of what I've already gone over, so I'm going through this. A number of kidney review papers, 2012, magnesium in kidney disease. It's not something I'll go into right now, but you could even Google magnesium in kidney disease and find some of these reviews saying that magnesium requirements need to be reevaluated in the treatment of kidney disease and the use of magnesium in dialysis patients. Back in 1993, the magnesium researcher, Dr. Burton Altura, he and his wife forwarded my Magnesium Miracle book. Dr. Altura reminds me of this story when I last saw him a couple of years ago. Many years ago, Dr. Altura asked a colleague, a kidney disease specialist, Dr. Markle, to test his kidney patients for magnesium levels. It was agreed that both ionized magnesium and serum magnesium would be tested and compared in dialysis patients. The results were that people with chronic kidney disease of all varieties had simultaneously the highest levels of serum magnesium and the lowest levels of ionized magnesium. It appeared that their magnesium was stuck in the bloodstream and not getting into their cells. It's not reported in the study, but when these patients took the liquid magnesium, their ionized magnesium levels improved and their serum magnesium levels became normal and their symptoms were alleviated. And their kidney function tests even improved. And I'd say this anecdote explains for me why doctors fear magnesium. They just measure serum magnesium, see that the levels are elevated, and assume the worst. However, they don't test for and therefore don't notice that ionic magnesium is low, showing that the cells remain starved for magnesium. there's not enough magnesium in an ionic form to get inside the cells to do its work. And this is where REMAG comes in, because it is an ionized magnesium at the highest possible concentration that gets into the cells, does its job, and doesn't stay in the bloodstream to become elevated. It goes into the cells. In the book, I then go into magnesium deficiency and end-stage renal disease. And this is a woman who is on kidney dialysis. She's a PhD in health sciences, and she has end-stage renal disease. Now, she's got quite a story. She had home dialysis. She had incredible side effects. She started researching her side effects and realized she had severe magnesium deficiency, and even a type of rash that dialysis patients get, little white crystals in her skin. And she said the specialist, knew about it, but they had nothing for it. And she realized later, when she studied magnesium and learned about vitamin D, that she was creating an imbalance of calcium and phosphorus, causing these crystals that magnesium began to dissolve. She said most patients on dialysis suffer heart arrhythmias, die of heart failure, heart disease. And when she found REMAG and began supplementing, she said, I find it hard to believe, but it totally resolves my palpitations. Of course, I bump heads with powers that be who say magnesium is dangerous for kidney patients, but my kidney specialist is finally behind my decision to use it. Besides eliminating my palpitations, my phosphorus levels have dropped to near normal, so that they're reducing the phosphate binders that I have to take with every meal. Magnesium is rarely measured in the dialysis setting. She finally went through the red tape and did a pre and post Magnesium RBC test. She found that after her dialysis, her magnesium levels were lower than when she began. So each treatment was depleting her magnesium. She says, the more I look into magnesium deficiency, the more I attribute the majority of my health problems since beginning dialysis to the depletion of my magnesium levels. When I bring this up, the dialysis staff gets quite defensive. I seem to know more than they do, which intimidates them, not to mention that it really is the fault of their dialysis liquid that I've suffered these symptoms. They know so little about magnesium and how it interacts with phosphorus, calcium, PTH, which is parathyroid hormone, and vitamin D3. I just thank God I have found the studies online saying I really do need magnesium, and then I found REMAG, which really made such a difference almost immediately. I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night with palpitations, and no way can I sleep with my heart bouncing around in my chest. So I pour a capful of REMAG in a few swallows of water, and I swear within minutes my heartbeat returns to normal. So that's someone on long-term dialysis who takes REMAG and has all the benefits from it. And as I mentioned earlier, the vascular calcification of the kidney arteries is probably what's causing a lot of these problems, but because the kidney arteries aren't accessible like the carotid arteries in the neck or the coronary arteries, although to get through the coronary arteries you have to go up through the groin and wind your way around the blood vessels into the heart to put stents in the vessels of the heart. I suppose they'll start doing that with the kidney soon, but really all they need to do is the REMAG to help dissolve the calcification, the Remite for the minerals to help heal the kidneys. The Realign is very important for the B vitamins and the detoxification for all the drugs these people are on. The vitamin D3 Sunshine or Blue Ice Royal I recommend, because a lot of people will say to me, well, they're talking about how important D3 is for kidney disease, and my doctor wants me to take these horrendous amounts, which will just give them lower levels of magnesium, as the magnesium is used up by activating the vitamin D3. And vitamin C complex is important as well. For lists of what I recommend supplement-wise, go to my blog called Dr. Dean's Supplement Recommendations. So, that's a lot of words. It's very important information. I imagine Ginny is going to clip it for questions about kidney disease, because it's vital that people understand the different forms of magnesium, and now that REMAG is available as an ionized magnesium that goes into your cells, it does not linger in the bloodstream and cause elevated blood magnesium. It goes into your cells, does its work, and makes you happy. So there. How'd I do, Ginny?
I think you did well. And then the other question that I saw come whipping through quite a bit was, if they do have, what is renal failure? Is that the same thing as kidney disease?
It's the same as kidney failure. Renal and kidney are the same thing.
Oh, okay. All right. And kidney disease is not necessarily kidney failure, right?
That's right. That's
okay,
right.
So if kidney disease, they're just in some kind of a compromised situation, but renal failure and kidney failure are the same thing, and that's when they're on dialysis, right?
That's right.
Okay,
and they're looking at transplants. And what's happened is they've defined levels of kidney disease based on your GFR, glomerular filtration rate. And, it's like the grading of cancer. They try to tell people that you have mild kidney failure, anyway. The mild kidney failure is someone who's probably dehydrated and not drinking enough water, not taking enough minerals. But by calling it a mild kidney failure, you're putting that negative virus into a person's head that, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. And really, folks, when someone starts talking about your kidneys failing or your heart failing, you get scared. And being scared like that can actually make your brain think there's a conflict that it has to address by creating some sort of physical changes in your body. And I won't go into details, but the stress of that can affect you. Now, with GFR, the glomerular filtration rate, GFR of 60 or higher is the normal range. Below 60 may mean you have kidney disease. So there you are. You're sitting on 60 and you're fine. You're at 59 and all of a sudden you have kidney disease. So this is how difficult it is for people to understand medicine, how it can be so or try to be so black and white. GFR of 15 or lower may mean kidney failure. And here's what, I'm just looking this up now. Here's the next line. You can't raise your GFR, but you can try to keep it from going lower. So right there, they're saying you're doomed. Look at that. You can't raise your GFR. And we've had plenty of people who've certainly raised their GFR and gotten normal on our products. So it's voodoo. It's modern medicine voodoo to be telling a person that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it just the mind, the mind cannot be trusted, and also, my gosh, I mean, just think about the world that we live in. 24-hour a day commercial pharmaceutical advertising in radio and television, and every time you turn around, there's some condition that you're just going to have a pill for. And whether you are enrolled in that or not, it just wears you down. It's like, oh my gosh. So yeah, it really does take a lot to keep yourself in that empowered position where the body's constantly recreating itself. New cells are being made every hour. You don't have to be limited. You don't have the same body you had 3 years ago. You don't have the same body you had this morning. Your body doesn't have to perform according to your memory. It just doesn't.
So people aren't trained about the colonialism of the interior landscape. See, this is a new kind of tyranny that people don't discuss in terms of freedom or rights and all that. They look at the outer world and the rights of expression and stuff like that. And they're not looking at this incredible internal hijacking of the insides of yourself, your interior landscape.
I agree with you, Bob, and I think it is who are you going to write to complain or whatever? I mean, how are you going to organize yourself so that the electronic hologram that's playing 24 hours a day and is being foisted on you stops? I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible what the mind has to put up with.
I think that what we do with Carolyn's products is set the example. And if people are lucky, they're going to hear about it, and they're going to get fixed, altered, improved, and that will spread.
Very good.
For whosoever will.
Yeah, now, Carolyn, what are you reading from, this voodoo? I didn't get the beginning. What are you reading?
Excerpts from my new edition of Magnesium Miracle.
Yeah, but you were quoting some bad stuff, stupid stuff. Who wrote that?
I don't know.
Well, the last bit there, you said, look at that. And you quoted this sentence, and he said, that's voodoo.
Yes, I Googled the glomerular filtration rate and read out what the various numbers meant. And then right below the numbers, this person said, you can't improve your GFR, but you can try to keep it where, at the unhealthy level where it stands now. Yeah, that's what I was quoting.
So that was a factual something, and there was a commentary on it. And you don't know who did it.
Well, whoever wrote this, it's the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases.
Oh, it's an anonymous thing.
No. It's an it's an NIH, written by one of their lackeys. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. I'll just quickly go to a couple of the blog questions. There weren't that many, just because to keep it in the thread here. Person said, when you discuss diabetes this evening, could you also include type 1 diabetes? Now, with type 1, that is different. What we have been talking about is type 2 diabetes. Type 1 tends to be the pancreas, might get a viral infection, and then the cells that make insulin are affected and don't make enough insulin, and then a person has to take insulin. But even then, we have had people with type 1 diabetes who say when they start taking the complement formulas, they do not have to take as much insulin. And that's all I know about type 1 diabetes and what we're doing. But this person goes on to say, I was diagnosed with type 1 at age 35. I'm about to turn 60. So I've lived with it for nearly 25 years. About 3 years prior to being diagnosed with diabetes, half of my thyroid was surgically removed. The doctor thought I had thyroid cancer because of a lump in the thyroid. The endocrinologist and the surgeon were both wrong. There was no cancer, but I still lost half my thyroid. So for about 28 years, I've been taking Synthroid for the thyroid. The dosage of that medication has never changed in those 28 years until recently. Since November 2016, the dosage of the Synthroid has been reduced 3 times. I credit this to Remag and Remite. Thank you very much. So there is someone with half their thyroid who was able on their Remag and Remite to get their hormone activity back after 28 years of being on Synthroid. And this is to to describe to you how the body will take those building blocks and it will work with them. Because how many have you read, and I certainly read in endocrinology in med school, that once you begin taking thyroid hormones, it suppresses your thyroid to the point that you'll never be able to produce your own hormones again. So that is another myth. We won't call it a lie, we'll call it a myth. Second question, I would like to know how to supplement a patient on dialysis. So this comes from one of our practitioner customers. The patient is a 50-year-old male, has been on dialysis for almost 6 years. He got into a car accident 30 years ago and was paralyzed. Please advise me how to supplement. And she says, and if possible, an eating plan. I'm not good with eating plans. Actually, I'll say right now we do have nurse, masters in nutrition who's worked for 30 years on nutrition and diet plans for people, and she does takes our referrals for nutritional analysis and diets and recipes and input. Her name is Barb. So if you want a nutritional consultation, just get in touch with Ginny, and Ginny can give you her information. So with someone on dialysis, I didn't talk about numbers with the person that I mentioned above, who the PhD in health sciences, who's on dialysis. But basically, it is very much like we describe for everybody. It's you start with a quarter teaspoon in your liter of sea salted water and sip it through the day, and work up to a couple of teaspoons a day, probably 2 teaspoons a day. You can follow an RBC magnesium test every 3 or 4 months. But as I described, basically the ionized magnesium goes into the cells, and it just doesn't build up in the bloodstream. And it was just those couple of questions, Ginny. I don't know if we can do anything in the next few minutes before the top of the hour, but except maybe go over the chat questions. What do you think?
Sorry about that. Yes, I did want to say that's another question that I saw coming through, which was, is there any modification to how much magnesium you would take if you are on the, any kind of a kidney program? So the answer is really pretty much no. Just follow the standard protocol.
Yeah. The answer is just treat the symptoms. This woman, if you go back and listen to the archive, this woman, she had the itchy skin, she had the palpitations, she had all kinds of cramps, magnesium deficiency symptoms. So I don't know that she was saturated when she wrote that note to me, because she said she'd wake up with a palpitation. If you're saturated with magnesium, you won't even wake up with a palpitation. But she still found that treating with 1 teaspoon just took it down right away. So it's a complete, I don't know if it's a fabrication or just a fear on the parts of doctors, where they will see one case of magnesium overload and decide nobody with kidney disease or dialysis should take magnesium, and they don't bother to do the research. And again, if you re-listen to the archive where I talked about Dr. Altura's research with the kidney specialist, they found the problem was that they weren't getting a liquid ionized magnesium. They weren't doing the right testing to show that even though these people had high serum magnesium, they still didn't have enough in their cells. Now, I'm not saying that you can go ahead and keep your serum magnesium high. I don't trust that situation. I say that the Remag is, in its ionized form, is not going to give you a high serum magnesium. It will, and at the same time, it will support your cells.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, let's just describe that we will take phone calls here soon if you want to talk to Dr. Dean. Probably because we are so close to the top of the hour, we'll let the hour roll over, and we'll take phone calls in the second hour. 602-666-6027 is the number to call. And if you're on the line or you want to call in, once you do, you've got to hit *5. *5 on your keypad will raise your hand and let me know that you have a question or comment for Dr. Dean, and then I'll take your phone off mute. I announce your area code, and then I'll put you on the line with Dr. Dean, and you can chitty-chat to your heart's content. So again, 602-666-6027 is the phone number, and then *5 on your keypad will take your phone. I'll take your phone off in the order when we go to the live phone calls. Now, the next thing, Carolyn, is, let's take a couple of questions off the chat line. And going back to the top of the hour when you were talking about your book, King did just write in and say, did your publisher require you to do the indexes in your previous editions, or is this something new you're being asked to do?
They probably billed me in my previous editions, but I didn't know it.
Ah, very good. Okay, excellent. Mm-hmm. And then let's see. Let's go back to these other questions here. Where are they here? Okay. I can't tell who that is in Kansas, but the question is, what estimated magnesium RBC level does AFib stop? Currently, I only have problems after 3 a.m. For about 3 hours. I'm taking 1.5 teaspoons of Remag.
So the person is asking at what level of RBC do they stop? They stop when you take enough magnesium. Unfortunately, the Mag RBC level is not a fail-safe. It's just a guide. 1.5 teaspoons of Remag is really not enough. Was it once a day or twice a day, Ginny?
He just said 1.5 teaspoons. That's all. Yeah. He didn't say it's per day.
No. That's, 450 milligrams. That's just the RDA. That's just enough to get by day. If you want to, quote, heal your AFib and get your magnesium stores in place to prevent AFib, read the AFib book that I wrote, and most people were taking 2.5 to 3 teaspoons a day. Spread out through the day, put in water, sip through the day, and there are layers of problems that people can have. If you're on medication, that can drain your magnesium, and some people feel they really do much better when they add the Remite, and also the other complement formulas can help as well to heal the heart.
Okay, excellent. And then also, here's a question from person Black Sheep on the chat line. Dr. Carolyn, would you please elaborate on what is a conflict? What is the conflict? Would be if you suddenly got diagnosed with something like kidney disease. I'm not sure I understand the conflict part, but I want to.
Well, a conflict is when you get divorced, when you have a fight with someone, when you lose your job, when your Random House agent tells you have to pay for indexing of your book, and that if you don't express that, hold it in and get irritable and kick Bob, then that's a conflict that you're suppressing, and then the body trying to heal that conflict and stop it from bothering, making a mind gramophone thought, it will put symptoms in your body to deal with that conflict. In breast disease, it can be a nurturing conflict where trying to nurture a sick partner or child, your breast tissue expands, and then when the conflict is resolved, the tissue sort of hardens up and becomes symptomatic. Allopathic medicine thinks it's breast cancer. It's really just resolving a conflict.
And she did kick me, Ginny, but I put Renew on, and it went away in 3 seconds, and she got really mad it went away so quickly. That's my testimonial.
Oh, I thought we'd reached the top of the hour. Dang.
Very good. Okay, I just have to say this thing really quickly, Carolyn. Sandy Burr sent me this cookie kit a couple weeks ago, and she knew I was too busy and wouldn't take the time to put together the recipe myself. So she mixed all these ingredients in a plastic bag, and she sent them to me. And she told me all I had to do was add 3/4 cup of water, an egg, Remag, Remite, and Recalcia, and they would make this great chocolate restructure fat-free cookie. Okay. I finally did it Sunday. I'm telling you, these things are off the charts. I want everybody to email me for the recipe. Sandy she is a baking whiz. She has made fat-free recipes and done all kinds of fat-free accommodations for baking for years. I did not know this about her. She's quite talented. She's also an artist. And these cookies are just off the charts, and I gave them to everybody in the warehouse, everybody in Greg's company. I made everybody have some today. I didn't have to make them, but I'm like, you're not going to believe this. This is restructure, remag. I mean, people just went nuts, and they flipped out. So please email me at support, SUPPORT, at RNA Reset. I will send you the recipe and try to make them yourself. And Sandy did say if you want to make an accommodation, you can use 2 tablespoons of butter and put a little bit of the buttery flavor in them. But otherwise, you can make them fat-free, and they're just delicious.
Oh,
yummy.
That's awesome.
I know. I'll send you the recipe, too. All right, everybody, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. We've come to the top of the hour. We're going to be right back with phone calls and mailbag and more good information. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay tuned.
Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
Describe the words you know regarding amino acids and our process of ascension. We are trying to get to the marriage supper of the Lamb.
What happens in the blood is you require protein carriers for different things through the blood.
Protein carriers in the blood segue through basically the essence of lysine to change the way that the molecules or the specific gravity of how blood is. If you change its molecular specific gravity, you change how it flows. It's the blood that gives you strength from day to day, and it will never lose its power. The methylation, but it changes the specific, the outcome of the methylation changes the specific gravity of blood. When you start spinning out patients who have been ingesting RNA drops, the specific gravity of their blood will change.
Sometimes your body not feel so fine, head hanging low most of the time. Got that meat sack, not doing good. Head hanging low, don't feel like you should. I talk to the Carolyn. What? Talk to the Carolyn. Talk to the Carolyn. Talk to the Carolyn.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Hour 2, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio. Welcome back, Carolyn. And before we go on to our callers, I just want to, because Black Sheep didn't really quite get it, what conflict would be created by getting a diagnosis? I mean, obviously they've never had one, so they don't know what that means, you know. But,
well,
yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. When, let's say when you get a misdiagnosis, and they're big about misdiagnosis these days. You have a cholesterol of 201, and your doctor says, well, 200 is normal, 201 is abnormal, so you have to take statins. And you fight with the doctor and say, no, I don't want to take statins. And they say, you better take statins or you're going to die. And you say, oh, really? I'm going to die? Oh, I guess I better take statins. That's the conflict.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
any condition, any condition where the doctor only knows that to give drugs or surgery, and the minute you start arguing the point, they will open up, firing all cylinders and telling you, if you don't take this anticoagulant for your heart arrhythmia, you're going to have a blood clot and die. And there's the image of you, keeling over, while you're swimming, doing your exercise or whatever. And anyway, it's a real conflict when doctors try to bully you into following their regimen when they haven't got a clue about any alternatives that could be way more effective and not have side effects.
Okay. Excellent. Very good. Thank you, Carolyn. Wonderful. Mm-hmm. All right, let's take some phone calls, and then we'll come back to the questions on the chat line, but we've got people that have been holding for a while, so let's do that. Again, 602-666-6027 is the number to call. If you are on the line and you have a question or comment, you have to hit *5 on your keypad. And then what will happen is I'll call your area code like I'm getting ready to do, 760. And then when I take your phone off the line like I'm getting ready to do, I'll say, welcome, 760. Do you have a question or comment for Dr. Dean this night? And then you give us your name and say, yes. Hello, 760, are you there?
I am here.
Okie dokie. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Dr. Dean.
Yes. What's your first name?
My name is Russell. There's two of us, really, that have questions. And my ex-wife had me buy a bottle of your Remag because she's such a fan of your product. So it's been sitting on the shelf for about 3 weeks. After I bought it and arrived, I was a little afraid to take it. And the reason is I have a kidney disease. It's stage 3B, which is one of those GFR rates of, in that 30 to 49%, the doctor says. And all of the tests that I had, my cholesterol right at the edge where you said, where they're starting to threaten you. And the blood pressure, the cholesterol had gone up, and it never has in my life before.
Yeah.
It did climb up. And when I did go to the web and Google everything, like you said earlier, almost everything was, don't take magnesium. You might die, even one article said, with a heart attack. So, so that's when I put the Remag back on the shelf. Studied a little bit more, and I did get a copy of an excerpt from your new book forwarded to me by my ex. So she's trying to keep me alive. So anyway, my question is, I did start taking it after reading everything and taking a good hard look at it. I started taking it just a quarter of a teaspoon for a couple of days. And amazingly, and maybe it's just something has nothing to do with the Remag, I actually feel a lot better, which seems impossible. Just taking 2 1/4 teaspoons of Remag, but it's actually packed.
Yeah, I know, Russell, and it's wonderful that you're phoning in to tell us that because that's what people say. It just seems so simple, and yet you were scared off it for so long, and it's quite unfortunate. But I hope, as I described earlier, you realize and kind of understand that the Remag is not like the magnesium that doctors talk about. It's a type of magnesium that's just going to go into your cells. It's not going to build up in your bloodstream and ever cause any problems in your blood or even get to your kidneys and cause any problems there. So, and you're feeling the benefits already. So
well, that was
wonderful.
Kind of the concern. That was a concern that I had, the do no harm part that you mentioned earlier. And how do I really know if it's building up in my blood? I wasn't sure. I mean, I read about the GFR test, but I understand that really doesn't show if it's building up in your blood. But I said, okay, well, I can see from everything that you've written that it should not build up in my blood, and I'm willing to take it and find out what happens. Right. So one of my questions was, is there anything you can do to find out if things aren't, if things are developing the wrong way? Like if there's any test you could take or you should at all, you're going to know.
About the magnesium, Russell, are you saying?
Yeah, magnesium buildup, in the blood.
Right. Yeah, the magnesium RBC test will help with that, and that you can do every 3 or 4 months, as I said earlier. It's see that there's this fail-safe with magnesium. If you're taking it by mouth and there's too much, you get the laxative effect. All the negative aspects of magnesium and kidney disease were found in very sick people in the hospital using intravenous magnesium, overdoing it, and then causing problems. And then they translated that into anybody taking any magnesium with any kidney disease. So it's a huge myth that's spread far and wide, and all we can do is tell you to do your reading. You researched everything I've written. You found it made sense. You thought you'd try it, and now your body's responding and saying, "Thank you, Russell. Thank you for giving me this magnesium."
I have a question about. I was also taking. If I was going to try the Remite as well, but it has no vitamins in it. It's just got minerals. And I was. And
That's
also,
right.
I was taking a multivitamin called Pro Renal, put together by some kidney doctors who also had omega-3 in it. So it's like I have to buy products to take this stuff. So if I buy the Remite, and now I have this other bottle of pills that has omega-3. It's got minerals in it and a lot of vitamins and D pluses. I guess what I'm asking is, what is the right combination to go with the Remag and the Remite to be sure I'm not getting rid of the vitamins if I start taking the Remite?
Well, you don't get rid of vitamins when you start taking minerals. You just your body probably utilized. Mm-hmm.
Well, I was going to throw this other bottle of pills away. Because it also has a lot of the same stuff in it. So
right, you don't need the extras. And I'm looking it up right now online. And the thing about the vitamins, the B vitamins, I'm just seeing them here, they're all synthetic. My Realign has a methylated B vitamins that the body will accept better than these synthetics. The minerals, we call them dirt minerals, so they're the ones that are hard to absorb, and they even have calcium in here. And the calcium, I mean, there's not much. They do have a little bit of magnesium, but it's the laxative magnesium. But they're dirt minerals, so they're not ionic minerals like Remag and Remite. So it's
right. So what my plan was now is, and I guess what I was asking is, I'm going to add the Remite to the Remag, put those two together. Now I need one other thing. I need a supplement for the vitamins, or the vitamin D, or the omega-3 if I need that. I'm asking you what
and
a product that
everything you need. Right, and that I mentioned earlier, I go into in my blog called Dr. Dean's Supplement Recommendations. And that's all written out and laid out. And basically we get people who are trying to heal a chronic condition on all our completement formulas, including the Restructure. The Restructure has the whey protein. It has vitamin C as well. I don't have a vitamin C complex. That's I make recommendations for that one. And I don't have a vitamin A, D, and K, so I make recommendations for that. So what you can do is just step by step, add things and see how you feel. The whole thing about the completement formulas is they should make you feel better. And if you take something and they don't make you feel better, within a certain amount of time, like was the Pro Renal, did that make you feel better?
Yeah, no, I didn't feel any different.
Right. So when you have something like this Pro Renal, it's got a couple dozen things in it. Usually it means it's got so little a whole kitchen sink of things. You're just kind of buying the words. You're buying the thought that it's got 24 things in it.
Yeah, I've taken those things on and off over my life, and I can tell you for sure, never once did I ever take any of that and I actually felt any different. It was just I felt like, okay, there's better stuff floating around in my body now. But no, I never felt any better after taking any multivitamin or anything else, except finally a couple of days ago with Remag.
Yeah.
That actually made me feel better. I said, whoa, what is this stuff?
Well, I'm
now,
really
do I have
glad
any more
you
time?
took it before the show.
If I have any more time left, I have a question about my other party who wants to take this. That has a thyroid problem. She has hypothyroidism. Has had it for about 10 years, and takes about 110 milligrams of levothyroxine every day. 112 of levothyroxine every day. And so really, it's a matter. Okay, what's a smart strategy for her to be on? Because I got her already taken. She took her first quarter teaspoonful yesterday of it. So,
well, it's I don't know if you listened earlier, but I was reading off the case of the woman, 60-year-old woman who had half her thyroid removed 28 years ago, and she's got half her thyroid. She's been on high doses of Synthroid, and she's finding she doesn't need it as much. So it's what you do, Russell, is she would take her Remag and her Remite and build up, and usually it's about 6-8 weeks into taking the Remite at the full dose of 1.5 teaspoons a day that a person starts to notice that, I think I'm a little, my thyroid seems a little too much, and that's where you check with your doctor, get the blood test, or, have your doctor wean you back so that, you don't need as much of the thyroid hormone because your thyroid's making it.
Now, what I did see, though, as a cautionary in the drug, and it's one of the drug articles, is you don't want to take, they said don't take magnesium within 4 hours or something like that, along with the list of other drugs, of taking that levothyroxine.
Yeah, they have. I've noticed that over the years. What they're talking about there, Russell, is doctors think magnesium is just a laxative. And
they were saying that your levothyroxine would not be absorbed if you took the magnesium at the same time. It would interfere with the ability of your body to absorb the levothyroxine.
And here's what I'm telling you. The answer is doctors think magnesium is a laxative, so they don't want you taking a laxative at the same time you're taking a thyroid medication because you'll just flush it out.
I got it.
And with Remag, it's not a laxative. It's not going to do anything except support your cells and support your thyroid. We've never had any problems with people continuing to take their thyroid medications along with Remag and Remite. It just helps heal the thyroid. So, there's a lot of misinformation. Yeah, one more.
Boy, is there a ton of it. Can I put the Remite and the Remag in the same liter of water?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, and thanks for calling. Like I said earlier, I'm glad you took the Remag so you could before you called in, so you could give a report. Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, I was shocked. So, okay, bye. Thanks.
Bye, Russell. You're welcome.
Okay, excellent. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Russell, and thank you to our good friend Deborah who referred her good friend Russell. Hold on. That's what we have to do, people. We got to look out for one another. Got to. Okay, let's see. Let's go to our next caller. We go to our good friend. Hello, Kendall. Hello, love. Area code 267.
Hey, Dr. How y'all doing?
We're doing great.
Okay, so I'm going to get right to it. So, of course, I've mastered, trying to figure out my magnesium. Remember the last time we talked, I said I could tell when it's down or I could tell when I need more. But I also could kind of tell what drains it. So I noticed that when I'm under a lot of stress, that I'll start to get those shakes in my muscles and stuff. So this weekend I had a lot of stress, right? And then remember, Dr. Dean, you told me a while ago to order like for fear, because I have those like impending doom, fear, anxiety attacks, those panic attacks. And you told me something about Bach flowers, but you told me a specific one, and I was just calling to find out which one, because if I can get the fear and the stress under control, then I think I could keep my levels at, like at bay, because when I'm not draining them, I'm fine. As long as I drink my magnesium every day, I'm good. But when I feel like I'm draining it, then I feel like I'm starting to get quivers again, and I start getting like the panic attacks and stuff. But as far as the palpitations, they've pretty much diminished. They're pretty much gone, and I want to keep it that way.
No, that's great. And that's great. I mean, you're doing exactly the right thing. It's trying to pinpoint and fine tune. Okay, aspen is for unknown fears, and mimulus is for known fears. So it sounds like unknown fears that come up on you, and you get apprehensive. I would get both. I would probably have both around. Aspen for unknown fears, mimulus for known fears. And when you're going to go, walnut is the link breaker, to break the link from thinking that you're unwell, as you're transitioning from kind of, being a victim to being more of a survivor, and then, being your own person. So walnut is breaking the links with past stuff.
Okay, so the aspen and the mimulus is more up my alley for right now.
Yes, that's what you're asking about right now for general anxiety. You can just Google aspen and mimulus and come across, a lot of information that can give you the words about what you're describing.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's all I wanted to say. The magnesium helped me out so much. I just actually today had a panic attack. Actually, while I was listening to the show, I don't know why. I don't know what made it just come up. Maybe because this was my first time calling in a long time, and it reminded me of when I was real bad. Anything like now I can kind of pinpoint, you know what I'm saying, like when I get into that realm. But nevertheless, I know that as soon as I put some magnesium on my chest, I'm back to normal. My heart rate goes back to normal. That product is amazing. I'm telling you, it's amazing.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you're amazing too, because you keep working at it. You're not giving up, and you call back in and to see what we got for you. It's wonderful. I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you too.
You just get nervous because I spoke. Come on. I put the fear, people.
Yeah, but you don't want to get a Bob attack.
Right. No, thank you.
No, thank you. Okay, sweetie, you're good. Let us know how that goes. And, anytime you have a question, we'd love to hear from you.
Thanks again.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, excellent. Very good. Oh, so good to hear from her. Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, Bob.
What's fun is hearing that guy talk about he's taken these things, supplements all his life almost, and he never felt anything. And then he was shocked that he actually felt something from our products. That's a pretty good testimonial.
I know, and you know what? That happens with a lot of people. They're just like, they get our products, and they're like, well, I'm just throwing this other stuff out. It didn't do anything for me. I never felt a thing. Yeah, It's very cool. All right, out to 815 Joliet, Illinois. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Yeah, this is Paulette, and
Hi,
I'm
Paulette.
still waiting for my I'm still waiting for my package. So I'm really hopeful that I will be one of those people that can get off of the thyroid pills I've been taking for, 40 years. Some Synthroid, but mostly Nature Throid. But I heard on something, but I didn't catch the amounts for yeast. The psyllium husk, how much of the
right.
whatever the other thing was, clay.
Yeah, bentonite clay, psyllium, and capra oil. The best thing is for us to send you the recipe because it's a bit detailed, and
okay.
it's
it was real simple.
It is simple, but we don't know who our people are, who our customers are. So, we'll tell people this is the recipe, but, you start with a teaspoon instead of going right to the tablespoon. So that just gets boring on the radio. So we'd rather just give it to you by email. So you can just email Ginny at support@rnareset.com. We'll give that to you. But, Paulette, I wanted to ask you.
P with a Paulette.
Oh, look at me. I'm just getting it wrong today. Okay, Paulette. When you say you want, you're hopeful of getting off your medication.
I never thought it'd be a possibility.
Uh-huh.
I've been
why
told
do you want to get off?
It'd be much nicer not to be relying on an external thyroid because that also suppresses your HPA and all this other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But I had a question because I've done yeast protocols before and they seem to be fine for a while and then they're not. Would that be because the magnesium was never right? I mean, I saw my chiropractor last week. He says, you got muscle cramps? Take more calcium.
Well,
and I realized after reading your material that was the exact wrong thing to do. Which, of course, did give me more muscle cramps.
Right. Well, the yeast, yes, the remag and the remite, the minerals in the remite as well, the molybdenum especially, they help to detoxify the yeast toxins. But, yes, yeast is always in our intestines, and it will overgrow under a lot of stress, antibiotics, cortisone, and a lot of sugar and carbs. So there's a lot of reasons for the yeast to poke up again. And I've been trying to find, I'm working on a formula to try to balance the intestines more than just going after the yeast and killing it because you can't kill it all off and you shouldn't try to kill it all off and it's always going to come back. So we've got to reach some sort of balance with it. But in the meantime, it is periodically going on the psyllium, bentonite clay, and liquid caprylic acid, and just trying to maintain your diet. And I recommend the soil-based probiotic, Prescript Assist.
I took that for a year, did not do a thing.
Oh, really?
I got better results from taking one of the acidophilus, bifidophilus types with 10 strains or something.
Yeah, and most people do well on the Prescript Assist, but nothing is for everybody, and it's good that you found something that works.
And I wondered if that might be because of the low magnesium. Would that have anything to do with it?
I don't know.
Although my temperature is still pretty low, so that might give me more yeast.
Yes,
the doctor absolutely would not go up on the thyroid, and when I did go up on it on my own, it made me too jittery.
Yeah, well, the remite and the remag are going to help, but with the remag, I have found research that says the magnesium is going to help heal the leaky junctions in the intestines. So I know that magnesium is helping our people. It's it's not the whole answer to yeast overgrowth, but we're working on it.
Have you ever considered oil of oregano as an anti-yeast?
Oh yeah, I've considered everything. The problem with oil of oregano is it can be very strong. It almost acts like an antibiotic itself, so it can actually kill off some of your good bacteria. So I don't really recommend it that much.
I use it when I travel abroad, and so far I've been very lucky when I've traveled abroad.
Yeah, if you use it like you would an antibiotic, just a couple of weeks at a time, but, it's for people who take it day in and day out for months, I think that can cause a problem. So, just when you get your package, let us know that you got it and everything's well and you're getting better, okay?
Oh, yeah, and hopefully my mother will then be willing to take it because she has AFib. Oh. And my sister already had a stroke. And so hopefully they'll be willing to alter some of their ways.
Well,
and my other sister has thyroid problems, and I'm certain she'll be on it almost immediately, as soon as I basically send her some. All right, I'm excited to talk with you, and I'm excited. I can hardly wait until my package gets here. Apparently, it's leaving the factory sometime today, or maybe it's already left. How long does it usually take? All the way to Illinois? A couple of days?
Oh, Ginny, just a couple of days, right?
It'll take 2 days, Paulette, and yes, it did leave today. And also, you can ignore a message I sent you earlier that I didn't have you on file. I couldn't find you based on one thing, but I found you another way. So, it's on its way. You'll have it in 2 days. So you'll have it Wednesday.
I attempted another time to send the credentials by email, and I did test it, and I sent a copy to myself, so you should have gotten a copy too.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you, Paulette.
All right. Thank you so much.
Call in any time because I can hear that you're dedicated to taking care of your health, and that's what we are as well.
Well, I've already recommended it just based on what I've learned to probably at least 7 patients today. I spent the weekend reading everything I could find, and I've recommended it to 7 patients already.
You're a practitioner then, are you?
Yes, I am. I'm a psychiatrist.
Oh, fantastic. Very good. Well, yes, this will be very exciting to follow your results and your patients' results. Excellent. Okay, good.
Well, I've had a couple quite open to it and others that looked at me like I was crazy. Okay. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
All righty.
Well,
so I'm really looking forward to sharing some results. All right. Thank you so much.
We'd love to hear from you. Thanks, Paulette. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Okay, Carolyn, let's do a couple chat line questions, and then we'll get the mailbag done. How does that sound?
Okay, good. We don't have much mailbag, so we're great. And that was wonderful, Paulette calling in. I mean, doctors don't have time to call into a radio show. That's awesome.
That's very good. And she's excited. She's giddy with excitement. So she'll be really giddy when she gets it and gets going with it. It's very exciting. Yep. Excellent. Okay, so let's see. Here's a question from Les who says, I have a cerebellum ataxia and was considering taking medical cannabis. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't know much about medical cannabis. I just don't. And cerebellum ataxia, let me just look it up here. Disorder that occurs when the cerebellum becomes inflamed or damaged. Now, if you can chat in how you got inflamed or damaged, certainly magnesium is awesome for any type of inflammation, and it is, in its ionic form, able to get right up there into your cerebellum and do its work. So, and there would be no contraindication to taking medical cannabis along with Remag or the complement formulas. So that's all I can say. I just, anytime someone mentions a condition, I'll look it up. If it talks about inflammation or too much calcium, or there's all kinds of triggers and ways to relate it to magnesium, and that's all I do. And with this inflammation of the cerebellum, yes, the cerebellum, at the base of the brain, if it gets inflamed and a little swollen, then it is going to cause you to be ataxic, which means you're stumbling around.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very good. Very good. Now, Carolyn, one question that got written in too for the show tonight was, what do you recommend as a detox, or do you have a recommended protocol for mold? Like if somebody's got black mold in their house and then they start to get sick and all this business, what do you recommend for that?
Moving out.
Moving out, yes. That's right. Yes, moving out immediately. Anything else detox-wise? Do you have a go-to product or protocol or anything that you've got on that?
No, I don't. I mean, that's, that can be a very serious or extreme condition, and I don't, I've never wanted to treat people over the phone for it. And, I usually end up getting people who've had black mold exposure, and then, down the road, years down the road, they come and they've got yeast overgrowth, and they've got a lot of problems from the immune system attack from the mold, but it cross-reacts with yeast. So a yeast-free diet, until you find someone who does treat black mold, the whole yeast protocol should be helpful. Certainly the REMAG will help, but I'm afraid I don't have a protocol for mold. You see, for me, that's kind of me saying that I can treat it as if I can cure it. And I know there's so much going on that a person really should be seen by a practitioner who specializes in mold.
Yeah, and I know they are out there, yes. I mean, I've definitely seen through my own travels people who, especially down here in the South, because we've got so much humidity and water everywhere. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have known practitioners for that in this area in Charlotte. So I think that, it's probably a good idea. Very good. Excellent. Wonderful. All right, let's see. Where are we? Jennifer. I am on the RNA drops, REMAG, and REMITE for almost 2 weeks now. I am following the total body reset schedule. Why are my palpitations worse now instead of getting better?
Well, let's just say they're different. And if you define them, and they can be, quote, worse, more aware of them, etc., as your 700, 800 different enzyme pathways start opening up with using the REMAG. But it's just a transition in our experience. I don't know you specifically, but if you go back and read the AFib book and you hear Roman's story and CB's story, you see that you've got to go through that, through the vanishing point. You've got to go through that door, kind of not so much reliving your symptoms, but it's not like these formulas are going to stop everything as you would want a drug to do. They're going to wake things up, and it can mean it seems like you're getting worse. But if you really define what the shifts are, it's a change, not necessarily a worsening.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, we're caught up on the chat line. Let's have one call for the phone if you want to talk to Dr. Dean tonight, 602-666-6027. And then you've got to hit *5 on your keypad. Don't forget to do that part. *5 on your keypad will raise your hand in the studio and let me know you have a question or comment, and then I'll put you on the line with Dr. Dean, all right? And let's see. Everybody's crystal clear, Carolyn, so let's do some questions from our mailbag.
Okay, good. Well, the first, it seems like this has been here for a bit. It's a Facebook testimonial. For me, this magnesium solution has been a real lifesaver. When I go into atrial flutter or atrial fibrillation, it stops the flutter or AFib within 15 minutes or so after taking it. And actually going back to the chat of the woman who says she's been on it a few weeks and she's getting worse, I guess a few weeks is just too short a time to get yourself saturated with magnesium so that your heart does not have to react with palpitations. Back to the Facebook testimonial. Taking the REMAG has worked for me very well so far. I don't have to go to DR or get cardioverted to stop the flutter. REMAG has been a blessing for me. I got the REMAG and REMITE after reading Dr. Dean's books. What she said made sense. And then she gives her background about how health conscious she was, and a lot of people will say that I've been so good, and in a sense, why did I get this? And so she says that eating so well, but apparently I don't absorb enough minerals and magnesium from the food I eat. Well, let's just say the food doesn't have the magnesium anymore, and people who really focus on eating their greens and everything, they may not be getting what they think they are getting or they think they should get. And she says now with the ionic minerals of the Remag and Remite and getting absorbed without going through the digestive system, that's why it seems to be working for me.
That's why we can emphasize that these are new foods that people aren't getting.
But then she goes on to say, I have tried the ionic magnesium from other vendors too. They do help somewhat, but it seems to me that the Remag action is faster than other brands, especially when I go to Flutter. And that's the thing. That's where we keep talking about the therapeutic action of Remag, because it is the highest concentration. If you take time to look at our 60,000 parts per million, no one goes near that. And what it means is, taking a quick teaspoon can I think there have been 3 people today, they say it can abort an attack, and that means it's therapeutic. And that's why I had that concentration made. I have the exclusive on that concentration. Other people won't be able to have that concentration made or sell it. And I think it's probably very appropriate because being a doctor, with my clinical experience, I'm not trying to prescribe, but I'm able to tell people, what's going on when they take something as concentrated and as therapeutic as Remag. Okay. So she just finishes up after taking Dr. Dean's Remag and Remite on a regular basis every day. I rarely go into AFib or Flutter anymore. So they definitely reduced my episodes. I carry some in my backpack when I go for a long hike. It has come in handy several times. So I don't even know if we know the age or the sex of this person, but this is a very active person. An active, healthy person, people, can get magnesium deficiency even though they're trying to eat an excellent diet, because the magnesium is just not in the food anymore. So they just continue on. I definitely recommend Remag Remite if you have any heart or digestive issues. The ionic minerals get absorbed without going through the digestive process, so they are very effective, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very positive testimonial. Anything from you, Ginny? Any phone calls, chats, anywhere to go?
Well, I just want to say that the cookie recipe is flying off the shelves. Not that there are any shelves or any cookies, but I've gotten a lot of emails from people who are very interested in it, so I will covet your feedback on these little babies, and maybe we'll talk to Sandy and see if she wants to do some more like little formulas for us, because, Greg loves oatmeal raisin cookies, so I was thinking, I wonder how you'd change it around for that, because these are definitely chocolate, and they're very good. So we've got a great success with our cookie recipe this evening, and let's see what else is going on. But no, I think we did the mold detox question, and I think we're good on this end.
Okay, now this is I'll try to edit this as I'm reading. I think there's must be someone in the UK saying, I've been seeing measures, the hematologist I've been seeing measures my magnesium in the blood, which happens to be 1.7 milligrams per deciliter, compared to the reference range of 1.5 to 2.5. So he's down at the low end at 1.7. Hence, the doctor considers the level adequate. However, then he says with my RBC, I'm talking about a range of 4.2 to 6.8. He says, now the question is, shouldn't these two seemingly different measures of magnesium mirror each other, because all body parts, bones, muscles, tissues get their nutrients from the blood? So if the blood is rich in magnesium, the muscles and cells and other components should also be sufficient in magnesium. So I say no. All evidence points to this disparity in the two measurements, serum magnesium and RBC magnesium. And in my new edition of Magnesium Miracle, I cite a couple of reviews where they are saying that we can't base anything on the serum magnesium test anymore. And then he says, by the way, I find it very difficult to convince my primary care and other specialists to have the RBC magnesium test done. I say, here's the caveat about magnesium RBC testing. Another reason why magnesium RBC test is still not the perfect test is because there are no mitochondria in red blood cells. There are mitochondria in all the cells of the body except red blood cells. Each liver cell has 1,000 to 2,000 mitochondria, and they're the energy factories inside the cells. And that's where the ATP is made. That's where they use the 6 molecules of magnesium for the 8 steps. Maybe it's not 6 molecules, but 6 of the 8 steps require magnesium, and therefore there'll be a lot more magnesium in tissue cells that contain mitochondria than red blood cells. And, of course, the superior test is the ionized magnesium test. So, we get this question periodically, and, people who kind of think they know a little bit about lab chemistry wonder why everything is not equal, but unfortunately everything is not equal. So that's that, and I think this is just the very last comment or question. This is someone who couldn't take Remag by mouth. She's using her Remag in her coffee enema, a teaspoon of Remag in her daily liver flush coffee enema, which she retains for 15 minutes. She says, this may seem very unorthodox, but it works. I've also been mixing the Remag in a spray bottle because I know it's good for relaxing muscles and cramping. And she says, I spray some on my urethral opening after urination because I was experiencing urgency. Lo and behold, it completely stopped the sensation of urgency. I use it every time I urinate. So I'm hoping that between the liver flush and the spray and spraying on the urethra, I'm getting a good dosage. I would recommend to any woman who's having urgency to try this. So I thought that was pretty amazing. The urethra can be inflamed and therefore burn. Perhaps the urethra can have some calcification, I don't know, but this woman says it's really solved her problem. And then she gives her testimonial. I'd reached out to you about hypertension several months ago. You suggested taking therapeutic doses of Remag. My blood pressure was running 200 over 125. I didn't want to go on meds. I've been using your protocol, intermittent fasting, potassium, liposomal vitamin C, and blue ice oil per your suggestions. I'm happy to say that after 15 years of hypertension, which was getting worse by the year, it has lowered to 117 over 66. I don't think it has been that low since I was born. I have also been able to resolve my hypothyroidism, and I'm feeling much better. I haven't used your calcium or the protein powder, just the Remag, Remite, RNA, and Realign. I believe in your products. I love the fact that you've been a lone pioneer for magnesium way before most others, and I made up my mind that I would get that magnesium in my body somehow. Yes, this was someone who just couldn't take it orally, so she was explaining to us how she does it in her enema, daily enema, 1 teaspoon, and sprays it on herself. And she got her hypertension, huge hypertension, down to perfectly normal. So,
what does urgency mean? What's that referring to?
You feel you must rush to the bathroom all the time to urinate.
And what happens? You get there and you can't urinate?
No, you can. Probably just a little bit, though. So it's a constant urgency to urinate. I don't know what other word to use.
So after you urinate, you might feel you need to urinate quite quickly again.
That's right.
And that's real, because when you go there, you urinate.
A little bit, yeah.
And
it's caused by, and that stopped. And that can be caused by inflammation or irritation. So apparently the Remag stopped the inflammation.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay, Ginny, I am done. We actually have a couple minutes left.
You get so much good news every day. Let's talk about that, how Carolyn lives a life of getting good news every day.
Yeah, I do think that's right. No, I do think it's really exciting, and I also just love, the things that happen. I never take it for granted, like, customers that partner up with us, like Sandy making those cookies, and people who refer their loved ones and stuff to us, like Deborah referring Russell to us, and people who are sharing about the products and their successes on their blogs and different things. I mean, it really is kind of a grassroots movement that we have going here, and a lot of people are participating fully and enjoying it, and we have a great radio audience, and people participate on the chat line and come in and hang out and share their ideas and different observations that they have, and it's just really extraordinary what we're doing. And the greatest thing about it is that it's all working because it's what the body requires. It's just really simple, but it's so elegant and beautiful.
Yeah, it's great.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so Carolyn, the Magnesium Miracle that's going to come out in August 2017, give us a brief, because I know you've said you've got it down to 65, or not down, but it's up to 65 different conditions. That's one of the new features of the book. What else do you have tucked in there?
Well, number-wise, I think I've said this before, I have 600 references.
Oh, my gosh.
600 references. And who knows how many pages of index that I bought. And then, the 65 conditions, I think that's probably pretty amazing. I'm trying to remember how many. I'm looking at my, one of the whatever edits. Yeah, I listed 21 conditions in the first edition that had direct clinical correlation with magnesium deficiency and respond to magnesium treatment. From more recent magnesium research and clinical experience, I've expanded this list to 65 conditions. And I'll just go through them. It'll take me a minute. Acid reflux, adrenal fatigue, Alzheimer's disease, angina, anxiety, panic attacks, arthritis, asthma, atherosclerosis, blood clots, bowel disease, brain dysfunction, bruxism or teeth grinding, cholesterol elevation, chronic fatigue syndrome, cystitis, which is bladder infections, depression, detoxification, diabetes, fatigue, headaches, heart disease, hypertension, hypoglycemia, indigestion, inflammation, insomnia, irritable bowel syndrome, kidney disease, kidney stones, migraine, musculoskeletal conditions, which means muscle cramps, fibrositis, fibromyalgia, GI spasms, tension headaches, muscle spasms, muscle contractions, chronic neck and back pain, jaw tension, nerve problems, which means neuralgia, neuritis, neuropathies with burning pain, muscle weakness, numbness, paralysis, pins and needles, seizures, convulsions, skin sensitivity, tingling, twitching, vertigo, confusion, obstetrical and gynecological problems with PMS, dysmenorrhea, female infertility, cerebral palsy, sudden infant death syndrome, male infertility, osteoporosis, Parkinson's disease, Raynaud's, sports injuries, sports recovery, temporomandibular joint syndrome, tongue biting, and tooth decay. Whew. There you go.
Holy cow.
Yep.
Wow,
I can send you that list. You want me to send you that list?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, very good. Well, we have now, of course, in the last 2 seconds of the show, we have a hand raising, so I don't know if we can get to this person or not. You may have to call back into the show next week or just email your question to support, SUPPORT, at rnareset.com, and we'll get it to Dr. Dean. And for anybody listening to the archives again, any remaining questions, just email us at support, SUPPORT, at RNA Reset, and Dr. Dean always answers all of her questions that are directed toward her. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in tonight. It was a great, great show. And thank you, Carolyn, for all your hard work.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you for your support and your understanding when I get annoyed at something or somebody besides Bob, because you always support Bob. And thank you, Bob, and thank you, Bill.
Thank you for supporting me.
And thank you,
Thank you, everybody. Good night, everybody. Thanks so much.
You've been listening to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Till next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.
All the fish.
AchieveRadio.com.
You humans, you are marvelous creators. Marvelous creators. Every time they try to hem you up into a situation or a place of knowing that they are going to deplete you, they are going to eradicate